You call yourself an executive coach?
So I'll generally be brought into a business through founder, CEO, C-suite type of connection. What genuinely fills your cup? If I was just doing it for money, well then there's a good chance I'd be waking up, go back to what we said earlier on this morning, and I'd be facing people I don't enjoy being with, doing business I don't enjoy being part of. What I have learned is it's more about a lived experience. So what I would say to a leader is like, be it, show it for others to follow. And from a business perspective, it's like, just stay the course where you're at, stay the steady course. And steady can be 35% growth. Like, I have 2 businesses growing in excess of 35% growth. That's steady. I'm not an expert negotiator. I'm just saying the power of silence. She eventually just went like, we have to do something. And I just said, okay, game on.
Ian, you said yes to coming on. Thank you.
So welcome.
It's great to see you.
Great to see you.
One of the questions you've always asked people, and I've witnessed this many, many times over the years. So what's going on for you?
Lots going on for me. Business is good, steady, interesting clients, good work. I'm fortunate in that I can choose who I work with. And I don't say that in a smart ass way, but I've been doing my business now for 30 years. And I set out to be in business to work with people that I could say I love, which is a kind of weird thing to say because I was coming from a finance background. And today I can say that I'm excited getting up every morning because I genuinely love the people I go working with. Don't have any assholes, which is great. So business is good. Life has its ups and downs and ins and outs. At the moment, all good. Healthy. I'm healthy. My family are healthy. Alison, my wife, and I have 2 children, Brian and Sally. They're healthy. Brian was in the business with me for the last couple of years, and he's now branching out on his own, pushing on, doing stuff through yoga, through men's mental health, and all his leadership stuff. So that's great to see. Great. So you catch me at kind of an inflection point, a reflection point as well, I would say. A reflection point. A client of mine had an independent director die suddenly at the weekend. 6 years of age, young man, very healthy man. Actually got a pain in his head after a workout. Didn't feel good. Went for an examination straight away that evening and rushed to hospital for further tests and was dead by the following day. So when I say reflective, I was conscious that business that he was sitting on a board of was open for business on the Monday after he died on the Saturday, because life goes on. So you kind of reflect on your impact and what you get attached to and how seriously you take stuff. So that's the kind of mood you find me in right now. It's my year end financially. So that kind of culminates in, reflection. And when you hear things like that happening, and just before we go on camera, you're talking about a 30-year-old colleague and friend of yours who had a diagnosis and is getting over it. Oh, wow. So yeah, that's what's going on for me. That's what's bubbling up for me right now. What am I attached to and what am I hanging on to and what am I willing to move on from and push on through? So no, you weren't expecting that, were you?
Always expect the unexpected with you, Ian. I love it. Tell me about your morning. What did you do this morning?
So this morning I got up at 5:20 and started my man jobs. My man jobs, usually my first man jobs are ironing. So we had visitors for the weekend. So there was a Chinese laundry full of stuff to be done yesterday and today. I love that. That's my first, depending on what's happening. So this morning I had an hour because I had someone coming at 6:15 for a walk. So I had an hour to get rid of a heap of that stuff. And that's when I throw on a podcast or a bit of music, depending on where I'm at, usually a podcast. This morning it was the Diary of a CEO with Simon Sinek. And then I went for a walk with a client around the base of the Sugarloaf. Sugarloaf is in County Wicklow, and I live just next to that. So I have a number of paths that I have forged through there where I take clients on a regular basis. So I had a client this morning, and he brought his dog, and we had a walk for an hour and a quarter, which is good, great walk. And then I was back home for 7:45. I had a couple of things to do, like feed the birds, feed the cat. And then I had a call at 8:00 with a colleague of mine in the UAE. I was for half an hour on some stuff for LinkedIn, some stuff for my personal business that he works with on my website. Then I had a call at 8:30 with the colleagues that I'm involved in. We have a weekly call. That happens to be this morning. Then I had a client at 9. And then I had to get in here through the traffic. So that's been the day so far. But it's wide and varied and good fun. So
for the audience that don't know what you actually do, like, so you've touched on some parts there, but the coaching and the clients and like, do you call yourself like, about labels here, but like, do you call yourself an executive coach and a business coach? Like, do you like that label? Does it resonate with you, or do you know?
It's a
do you get
great
kind
question.
of?
It's a great question.
30 years,
I call myself anything that people want to call me. So, and it's generally I work in the area of executive coaching, performance coaching for people in business, and what I like to say I do for people is hold space for them to recognize their own potential and to recognize their direction. That can sound very kind of lofty, but generally what I'm doing is I'm creating a space where you can investigate, you can interrogate, you can be curious around how you're bringing yourself to what you're bringing yourself to, and the impact of that. The impact of you as a leader, the impact of you as a young manager, the impact that it's having on you, the impact it's having on your team, the impact it's having on your family, the impact it's having on your organization. So I'll generally be brought into a business through founder, CEO, C-suite type of connection, and can end up working with grads in a business. I own the domain name mooch.ie, because that's how I was described at a conference one day when one client introduced me to the other, and he said, "What's he doing?" He's just kind of mooches around the business. And I was just reaffirming that with a client yesterday, where, you know, I sense I do my best work where I'm trusted enough to be around the business. So I'll deal with, I can work with the CEO or the founder or the leader of a team and get their sense of direction on what's happening with their team and what they want to be happening. And that's obviously confidential to them as they're discussing that. But that then allows me to work with individuals around the business, knowing the course of action, and give those individuals the space to, again, work in a confidential setting. I use the word confidential a lot because what I stress for anyone I work with is, you know, if I meet a founder, I'm not going to be your magpie in the business. I'm not going to be your human search engine finding out what's going on and coming back to you with details. I'll provide you with a safe space, and then I'll provide your people with a safe space. A lot of people find that hard to believe. So a lot of time it starts being an organization and someone saying, "Oh, you're in her pocket," or "You're in his pocket," and then they find out, actually, you're not. You can say things, or you'll challenge. I'll be the one challenging Neil, the founder, not in public or not in the smartest way, but just challenging him to hold his course. And then people kind of go, "All right, well, he obviously wouldn't be doing that if Neil didn't trust him enough to challenge him." But likewise, then, to get the best for a business, to get the best out of a team, a performing team, like whether it's the leadership team or a mid-management team, it's trust is the foundation of it. So if they can trust me to work with them, and I'll be working with you as an individual in the team to get the best for you and to help you bring the best of yourself to the team. the collective are then winning. So that's the type of work I do. As a client said to me during the week, as we were sitting with the founder and the COO, and we were renegotiating how we'll go forward, as they brought someone else into the business and how they use me. And he says, like, I don't really know what you do. Like, I just like the results we get. So I'm not trying to pin you to say you're going to be doing this or that. Another client, one of my best clients, described, he said, I just like that you keep me out of trouble that I don't even know you keep me out of. So it's like ironing and smoothing things as they happen, or it's knowing again that Neil, the founder, is particularly pissed with something happening in the business, and me being able to see how that's being affected or affecting someone and giving them a course correction. And and very often it'll be said to me, "Had you something to say today, or did you say something?" And it's like, no, I'm not claiming anything, and nor did someone come in and say, "Ian told me to say this to you."
Takes time though, right? Does it, to build up that level of trust and rapport?
It does. What I find is generally I'll be brought in to a business where someone has got a referral from someone they trust, and someone is just like, yeah, he's your type, you know. I'm not lots of people's type, you know. So when people hear of like a safe space, or people hear of like, you know, oh, you mooch around, like, no, give me the structure, give me the criteria. I'm not up for that kind of crack. They'll know I'm not their type of person.
Yeah.
So now,
but is it very conscious on, you know, you being at the Sugarloaf this morning, bringing leaders, bringing clients there? Like, that seems very deliberate and conscious. Like, is that?
It's conscious to do that, as much as it's conscious to go for a walk around the canal here. So I have clients in the IFSC. You and I are here in our WeWork office, and the IFSC in the centre of the hub of commerce in Ireland. I walk around here a lot with clients, and there's great walks here.
Yeah.
And the difference very often from sitting across the table with someone, especially men, is that we tend to say far more when we're not face to face. When we're walking side by side, we can say stuff, we can do stuff, because there's not someone interrogating you. There's no sense of someone looking down into the depth of your soul.
Like I'm looking right now, the depth of your
absolutely.
soul.
And you're unnerving me, I have to say. Like, it's but you know what I mean. So, and this is a fabulous, like, this is a gorgeous place to be walking now, all down around here. So again, it's more breaking the sense of how it should be to showing someone how it could be. And it's the same then in everything in life. It's like, it doesn't have to be in the structured way you thought. It doesn't have to be like, a lot of people would think like, oh, I'm working with someone who does coaching. Well, then they're going to set me goals and they're going to measure me on targets. That's just not my operation. Whereas I know people do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's not how I operate. It's more meaningful and deeper than me holding you to account to 2 or 3, you know, perceived goals. It's you coming to a space and saying, this is what's getting in my way. This is what I need to do better for myself. This is the anxiety I feel about it. This is the impact I'm witnessing or not witnessing. This is what's happening. And me kind of going, well, lad, can you see the impact of that? And you're kind of, wow, I didn't even think. That's what the safe space does.
Yeah.
Just gets you to stand back. So I've been really privileged, the type of people I've met and how people have brought me into their confidence and shared stuff. And
30 years. It's incredible.
It is, but when you're doing something you love, my dad said this to me, like, you'd never work a day in your life when you love it. My dad was a carpenter and he loved it, loved wood, loved working, and never saw it as work.
Something that amazed me about you, and I don't know if I've told you this before, your dad's funeral. And I've seen you speak many times in group settings, one-to-ones, and in Drenny, speaking in crowds, podcasts, various different forums. And the power of humour and storytelling. And I don't know if you remember this, right? But you said something about your dad took a while to die at the end, right? And you were saying he nearly got embarrassed because people were like wearing his clothes. Do you remember you telling this story?
Absolutely got embarrassed.
The reason I'm bringing this up, I was reflecting, even just coming into, I was like, your ability to speak, public speaking, without, I've never really seen you like with a script or anything. Sometimes you do. I've seen you do this thing, and you might talk about this in a minute. It's like a tree, and there's like little branches on it. I've seen it years ago. I remember seeing. Well, I remember, right? And I've seen you do that, but like you would just go up and just trust that it will come and it will flow. Like, you remember that story that you said about your dad?
I do, absolutely. Yeah. Well, why I remember it is because it's a true story. And my dad was diagnosed with cancer, lung cancer, and he was told, look, it's gone too far and there's no point in us trying to do anything with you. You have a short period of time. And the doctor said to him, Donal was his name, Donny was his pet name. Like, so when you knew him, because he was Donny, so he said, Donny, there's no nice way of saying this. He said, like, it's not good. He said, you have a number of options. You can stay in the hospital here and you'll be cared for. We have a wing on the hospital here, on the grounds here, where you can go. This is in Cork, CUH. You can go there. It's kind of like a respite. And we went, or he said, or you've the alternative for going home. Because I know I haven't spoken to your family, there's people can mind you at home. And that was it. So that all he heard was, I'm dying and I can go home. So when the doctor left, I said to him, what you make of that? And he said, well, go home. So that was the plan. Let's go home. And so that was, say, the end of October. So he had November, December. And his buddies were calling up a few weeks into him being at home. And his thing was, his thing before he had taken ill was cardigans. He'd got a fetish for cardigans. So like he had Lacoste and he had Polo and so like he had dozens of cardigans. And so the crack was his two best buddies came up to see him before he died, and the three of us were around the bed trying on his cardigans. He was giving this stuff. So you fast forward in, say, 3 or 4 weeks later, and he's down in Cork, and I come down to weekends. My brother and sister are minding him, and they do great. So I come into the house for my turn for the weekend, land on Friday, and my brother just says, go up to that. Just go up and sort him. We can't talk to him. So, of course, I was the golden boy, and of course, because I'm not living there and coming down to spend the weekends with him, you're not as tied in as there. So I said, what's going on? Oh, great, great, I said, what's really going on? I said, they're spitting fire downstairs. So he said, this is fine. He looks around as if there's someone else in the room. This is getting to be embarrassing. I saw it and he said, I thought it'd be gone by now. He said, Deemy's calling again on Sunday. I've given him my clothes. I said goodbye. Now he's calling up again. And it does, and the layers to that story are the honesty of the man, but he was ready to go as well. Okay. He had no fear of going. He was like, yeah, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And it was like, wow. But a really simple man. And I don't want to overstate the simplest, but, no philosophy degrees. And yet we quote him so often now as if he was a philosopher, because he had simply, when he was, the day after he was diagnosed, he's lying in his hospital bed waiting to go home. And Sally, my daughter, 19, she's sitting on the bed with him. Brian is there, Alison's there, I'm there, so the four of us are there. Sally's rubbing his hair, just chatting to him. And he says, Sally, what will you sing at my funeral? Sally says, shut up, Grandad. I said, Sally, it's only part of living. What are you going to sing?
Wow.
So she sang him the song she sang at the funeral.
Wow.
But that was his brilliance, was
powerful.
It's simple. Life is simple. So I take a lot of that from that. I look to him for that, and have looked to him. I did a TED talk on, my toolbox for life, which was his physical toolbox as a carpenter. And that's how he lived his life, was simply and pretty honestly, with all his foibles and all his faults and all his madness. And that's kind of how I've looked to live my life.
He's been a great role model.
Yeah, phenomenal role model in the simplest of ways.
Yeah.
And in all sorts of ways, like role model as he's dying, there's not a whole lot there. There's a house, a couple of baths, so there's not even enough to fight over. There's not even enough to be fallen out over. Simple. Yeah. He had it simply laid out, like, here, it is going to her because she needs it, and that's it, done.
Wow.
I've encountered this in my life, multiples of some similar simplicity, and it not being simple when the person passes, and then people with gazillions and families falling out forever. So he played it simple and kept it simple, and it was simple. So that's a huge part of my influence. I find that then as I bring that to business, I don't go in as a business guru. I don't go in to run it. People don't bring me in to do a slide rule over their business. What they find very quickly is this is an honest guy who loves business, loves running a business, loves the running of business, but doesn't come challenging it to say, why in the name of God would you do this? Or here's the slide rule you do for this. Mine's all about performance. Are you getting the best out of the people around you? Have you the right people around you? Are you brave enough to hire the right people around you? So I'm working with founders for over 30 years. I'm a founder of my own little business, and have been involved in other businesses. So I know what it is to fail. I see what it is to succeed. I see how, I've known loads of people who've created generational wealth and been part of helping them in tiny ways to do that as they've gone. And I run my own business and run it today still, and have been able to raise my family through running that business. So I'm in awe of the founder and what they can get done, and I love business and the leadership of business and people communicating it and how they communicate. So that's what I love doing.
When you speak to founders and build relationships with founders, or just people, right, and business owners over the years, I wanted to ask you something about motivation, because, or finding a purpose, or I think if people are truly honest, I think, I don't think it's like you're up there and then you just stay at this kind of pinnacle of motivation. There's peaks and troughs with that, and then finding your purpose throughout that, kind of understanding, navigating that, right? And I'm kind of conscious of some of the founders or entrepreneurs or leaders that listen or engage with this conversation, that maybe they're on an inflection point or a reflection point that you started this conversation with, who may lack a bit of motivation or lacking a bit of a direction, or just trying to discover. It's funny you mentioned Simon Sinek listened to a podcast this morning when you were doing your writing, and he talks a lot about the why and finding the purpose. And what's your thoughts on that? Are there any things that you've witnessed? Are there any tools or things that you could share that might help, particularly people that might be struggling a little bit with that question around motivation or finding their purpose and their why, whether they're in a business, whether they're leading a business, whether they want to lead a business, whatever, anyone that's listening? Big, broad question there, but I'm curious about your 30 years of chatting to leaders.
The starting point for me is what fills your cup.
Yeah.
What genuinely fills your cup. When I've witnessed people just doing it to make money, the challenges and the falls are far greater than people who are doing it because what they're doing fills their cup in some way or other. And that's
filling their cup, meaning their energy, meaning their buzz.
Filling their cup, meaning I started doing this because of a gap I saw, because I was doing this, I was in this business, I was doing finance, and I saw people don't generally offer this type of thing. I'm going to offer it. Or people do it in a certain way and they don't follow through. So it could be the insurance type broker or the finance advisor. And there are hundreds of thousands. But the person who starts it up and does it because what gives them the buzz is doing it properly and and knowing a particular style and thing in the market, and I want to bring that to people because I don't think people get it. Versus the person who says, like, I know there's $1 million a year to be made doing this. It's a very different energy that goes with it. And what I have witnessed is that the person who's only doing it to make money, just for the making money piece, they hit the obstacles far harder and they have far greater effect because the motivation isn't pure. It's but like I see so many founders who bring their business to a place where they've already created generational wealth and they're not finished. And it's nothing to do with the greed, nothing to do with the money, nothing to do with anything other than I love doing this and there's more to do. There's more, like we started this and it's gone so far. Oh my God, like I couldn't stop now and say we hadn't gone and looked at another part. Whereas most people would be saying to them, I have a client like that, and most people would be saying, like, wouldn't you just go away with your money now? And like, you've made enough, like, wouldn't you slow down a bit? Like the opposite, slow down. I'm looking to speed up more. Like the person I'm thinking of is going, how do we get AI in so as we can speed this process up more? Like, and it's not greed. So purpose, yeah, it's a great thing. It's like I'm thinking of people now in their 30s, and I'm looking at a couple of people changing direction. I'm looking at people doing very well, and doing very well in an environment that isn't suiting them from a values point of view, and they're finding it a struggle because the values don't match. So I can stay in this business, but actually, as I look around this business, people are killing each other and cutting each other's throat to get to a point and do a thing, and they're realizing very quickly, if I'm going to put that effort in and I'm going to sacrifice that much, I prefer to be doing it at something that I'm buzzed by or that creates a good for or is an environment. Like I heard classically this morning, the founder of Airbnb, and he's talking about like what's the most important thing, and he says, like, after 11, 12 years of growing my business and doing all the stuff, it's culture. It's the culture you create. It's the type of people we are. It's the who we are. It's how we are and what we do and why we do it. And they say that whether it's the Gen Zs or whatever label we put on the 30-somethings now, like that's, people are more predisposed towards that now. They want to be part of a something that means as something. So am I answering your question on purpose? Purpose is going to be different for everyone. What's my purpose? I love being in service, but I don't see myself like that sounds so crap. Like, in service of what? I love being around people. I love being paid to be around people and helping them be better. So I don't get the recognition for it. I'm not looking for the recognition for it. I want to be a part of that growing journey. So that's what fits. So that's a part of my purpose. If I was just doing it for money, well, then there's a good chance I'd be waking up, go back to what we said earlier on this morning, and I'd be facing people I don't enjoy being with, doing business I don't enjoy being part of because it's paying good money.
And do you think it's all connected then when you see burnout or just, sometimes you can kind of see in their energy or in their physiology or mood, like is that kind of the signs, right? I think when anything like that is misaligned, but it is connected to, and like, if you're happy and you're content with that and you're around the right people and you're plugged into the right energy, kind of get it all, isn't it? It's kind of the snowball works on both sides, right?
What I find myself saying to people is that this is only a game. Life is only a game. The business you're in is only a game. So when you asked me this morning, to honestly say where I'm at, I could say I'm great because I am, generally. The truth of it is right now, over the last couple of days, I'm in reflective mode because because there's a couple of stories around me of people who've died suddenly, or, and it's helped me again to stop and say, what am I attached to? So very often where I see burnout happening, where I see people not being on their purpose, is where they're attached to the notion that I have to create this, I have to earn that to be a this, I have to get to the next level of, I need to get promotion. If I'm not getting promotion in this round of, for most businesses I work with now, they've just come through the performance reviews are generally up for April. April, May is when, for most businesses I'm operating around, is when promotions and bonuses are being paid out. It's when in your business or recruitment is when people start moving out. The bonuses be paid. So now the golden handcuffs might be off and I'm ready to move or whatever. So what are people attached to? So for anyone listening, if there is anyone out there listening to this, like the first question to ask is, well, what am I attached to? Like what do I think I have to be doing? So the first question I ask of myself and the first question I pose to people is, what story do you carry about yourself? I used to carry the story that I was the eldest. I carried it unconsciously for years of my life. I'm the eldest. And I had a story about how the eldest behaved. Best boy, first up, get things done, take responsibility, do stuff. And I found I was living that in all areas of my life.
And what were the consequences of that?
Consequences of that were you get lumped with a lot of responsibility. The consequences of that, you do it. The consequences of that, for me, I'm married and thankfully still am. And, it meant my partner saying to me at times, like, why are you doing that? And my answer generally being, because I can. Like, because I'm not thinking of why I am. It's just like, it's there to be done. Do it. What I realized a number of years ago was that I was crowding people out of space by doing that. So by me stepping in to do it, it meant you never got a chance to do it.
Oh, okay.
And it's not like that I am so altruistic, I want you to do it. It's just like, of course you'd never step up to do it, because why? Because Muggins is always stepping into. So if you're always stepping in to do, well then how would you expect others to fill a space? I see the same happening in business then all the time.
That's exactly what I was thinking when you were saying that.
The leader taking responsibility, or the manager taking responsibility and getting it done and doing it and having to do it. And then, as I would say to that person every so often, then you turn around and you go, why not, Mark? Why not, people? Why can't someone stand up and take responsibility? Like, there's no leaders here. It's like, because they don't have to. Because you do it most of the time. So they've just learned to hold their breath long enough for you to step in and make a decision, and then they get in behind you. So what's your story? What story are you attaching to how you're living your life? As I think of it, like, and someone says something to me on that level every day. So, someone saying to me yesterday, like, I'm not very organized. So that's your story. If you tell yourself that, well, then you'll find ways of proving that true, and that's why I am. And people, no, but you don't understand. Come and live with me, and you'll see I'm not a this. You'll see I do a that. I know, but that's the story, and we can change the story. Whether we want to change the story or not, that's a very different thing. Whether you're up for changing the story or not, that's a very different thing. So for the last 2 to 3 years, my metaphor for changing the story is I generally introduce people to Magic Hands Jimmy, who's a real person. And he's a body clicking expert, is what I would call him. Right? He does body manipulation fantastically. But generally, when you show someone a quick video of him, it's like, click, right? And I use him as a metaphor. So you meet someone with a sore leg, as an example. Would you do anything to get rid of that pain? I would do anything. I wouldn't do that. Just show a Magic Jimmy. I know I wouldn't. So people all the time will say, I'm up for anything. I'm ready. We've gone everywhere. I've spoken to everybody. No, you haven't. And that may seem weird, and as people are listening now, they may kind of get a sense of like, does he speak in riddles? Magic Hands Jimmy is just an example of, like, on a physical level. But there's a million examples of that on a mental, emotional, business level, where you think like, I have to do this. And I say, like, and have you exhausted everything? You like, is the pain of this enough now for you to look at something else? You have no idea. Like, I'm ready to give this up. And you say, all right, would you do a magic hands, Jimmy? No, well, I wouldn't do that. That's stupid. You're not ready. And you're not in enough pain yet. And you're complaining about wanting to do it differently, but actually, you're just not in enough pain yet to have to do it differently. You can cope. So that's what I mean by attachment and the story we tell ourselves. So what I love about founders and leaders generally is that they're usually telling themselves the story of the madness that they get at. And it's a big story about, like, we could do this, which is great. And they're not just blinded by that, like, oh, they're the grandioseness of a story. Then they have to look at the impact of how they bring that, and the impact of how they bring themselves to the story, and how the culture they create around what they're trying to grow. And
what does holistic mean to you? My perception of you, with the moments of truth I feel I've had over the year, and the story that I tell myself about you, is like nothing's really one-dimensional. You seem to have been very conscious about energy, wellness, and I've always kind of thought, like, does that mean him? And I've kind of gone into this journey myself. Like, is he spiritual? Is he religious? Is he, and my question is, like, when you seem to, your whole world's always intertwined, I see, right? From an outside in perspective. Maybe I don't, an outside in. So, like, is that because that's just your DNA and you want to just kind of lead by example with that? Or is that like, is it because you do consider yourself spiritual and, holistic? But what does that holistic word even mean? Because I've heard it bandied around, like, in leadership circles and different things. And some people say, you can give them the ick. It's definitely not my experience with it, but, like, like some trigger words that mean things to different people.
I'd never call myself spiritual necessarily. I wouldn't call myself anything. Like,
you did say that earlier, to be fair to you. Yeah.
Because I've bits and dabbles of everything. And what I have learned is it's more about a lived experience. So what I would say to a leader is, like, be it, show it for others to follow it. So I'll never talk to you about stuff in that safe space that I'm not willing to go to or challenge myself on. So I will look at, like, I'm conscious of my diet. I'm conscious of the intake into my body in a way that says, well, when I'm with you, it gives us the right to talk about your energy level. It gives us the right to talk about, are you doing the right things for yourself? Why? Because I'm not preaching at you. I'm saying I'm living it. I'm living the experience of it. And I know what it is to have that energy. I know what it is to not have that energy. So the challenge could be around alcohol for a leader. And just using it as an example, why? Because I'm eating a lot and I'm out a lot and I'm meeting a lot and I'm raising money and then I'm leading team and it's like, when do I switch off? And it's realizing there are times when you can, there's times when you can't, and there's times when you should, and there's times when you shouldn't. And it's like, well, like, what it is saying, I'm saying, no, it's like, just, this is the safe space to challenge your impact. So, like, is you going on the tear with your team all of the time a good thing to happen? That was good to do once, to create a bit of culture. And it's good to know that they know that you're there. But it's probably better that they know you're there and that you're going to be gone. It's better that they know that you're not going to make a fool of yourself in front of a client because you don't want to and you don't. But that's just using that as an example.
Yeah.
So you're living it. So what's that then in a lived experience? So when you talk about holistic, everything matters. So like, don't be telling me to be this way in work when I see you as a leader behaving exactly the opposite. Because I'm going to take my lead from where you're at.
Yeah, like credibility. If you're going to say something like that, it's diminishing.
and hugely. And I see that, like, in life all of the time, where we're speaking from both sides of our mouth. It's like, go back to my dad. My dad never told me not to be smoking, or because he smoked. So he could, like, what was he going to say? Like, you're not to be smoking. Like, you're smoking. Ergo, I was smoking nearly the day dot that I could walk. Whereas friends of mine couldn't get away with that because their parents didn't smoke and they'd have smelt the smoke off them walking into the house. Mine wouldn't. I could have smoked in my house and I wouldn't be caught. You know what I mean? Others would smoke at their front gate and they'd be smelt. But that's just, again, a metaphor for what goes on in business. It's like, I see you fucking rip the eye out of a client and rent out the socket. And then we say, like, you know, but we're very conscious here of how we run it. Like, we're robbing people.
Yeah.
You know, or
back to the values, back to the
values, back
principles.
to how we live it. Yeah. What we're willing to do and how we live it. And it's one of the toughest things for leaders to appreciate, in my experience, is that they're normal and they're human and they're just being normal, and the leader will be having a conversation with you. And my job is to help her realize, yeah, but the impact is you're having that conversation as the founder, as the owner, as the CEO, as the leader. That's how they're hearing it. So as much as you think as I'm just an ordinary bloke saying this, I'm just one of 7 kids, I'm one of whatever, they're hearing me as the leader. It's like, oh, right, the impact of that. So a lot goes on when you talk about holistic. What's holistic? It's like, you know, from a leadership point of view, like, holistic to me is we're looking at you all the time in all of your allness. So the way you deal with your PA, the way you deal with your CFO, the way you deal with the new grad, the way you deal with your client, the way you deal with your partner in life, the way you deal with your kids, that's all on view to us. Like, I was, you know, mad thing. A client said to me yesterday, I just heard that this guy, like, kind of loses it at times with his wife over the phone. Like, that people in his team have experienced him just getting madly angry. And they were kind of like, wow, it's mad.
It's mad to hear that. And
Isn't
then,
it?
but the lack of awareness, isn't it? It's incredible.
I
Yeah.
know. But the person saying to me knows this leader for years and years, 11 years, I can tell exactly. I was just going, that's kind of bizarre, isn't it? But to my point, you're on view all the time. You know, so it's just, it's bonkers, but it's great. And that's why I love it. I love the people side of stuff. So when you say holistic and what am I, like, I'm coming from a space of where I live and a lived experience of it. So if you're looking behind me, you're not going to see anything different.
Yeah.
And that's why I say to you, a lot of people won't be attracted to someone like me because they just go, I'm not up for that kind of stuff. And then, like, certainly not into that. And, like, I'm not going to go do a diviner and look for water, because that's how I read that stuff.
Something that I'm proud of you about, and that might come across as quite heavy, but Indreni is call it a foundation or a charity? Charity, I think you call it, right? And I've been privileged to be involved. Was at the beginning, actually. Yourself and Keith Maloney, and Ram Harry got it rocking and rolling, really, right? And then I guess the pride piece comes when I have seen how many years, right? It was only when we've done the recent fundraiser, I was like, oh my God, like, Ian has been involved at the front of this, and obviously Ram Harry as well on the ground for, like, such a long period of time, and a massive commitment personally. But, like, the pride thing is, like, how you deliberately but cleverly intertwined your coaching business and your leadership business and teams. And, you know, I'd wondered if you might share a little bit about the Indreni story, because I still find it, like, it brings the gloss in my eyes. You know, I find it very powerful because I've been there on the ground and I've witnessed it, right? And then, like, even recently, when we had that fundraiser, and I was just like, God, it was just a lovely moment to even be there and look around the
It's like a wedding,
diversity.
wasn't it?
It was like a wedding. It was great fun, but it was just
Yeah.
the young people on the stage.
Yeah.
It was an inspiring kind of, moment. And I just wanted to take the opportunity while I'm having this conversation with you to even, you tell the story beautifully well. And I'd love you to just kind of give us a little sense of Indranee, right? And then how you've intertwined bringing leaders and bringing people away to Kathmandu and experience that. And then even if no one's even heard of it, what maybe the future might look like for the organization. And if people are interested, perhaps you could kind of say some examples how they could get involved, if you don't mind.
No, brilliant. So Indranee means rainbow in Nepalese. And the idea of rainbow as our symbol is that we are open to all color, creed, religion, and any persuasion. So that's an important fundamental coming from that part of the world where caste and segregation would be a norm in society. How we came to found and came to be was Keith, who you referenced, Keith Maloney, had his business, Stell Fox himself and Liam had their business. And Keith went on a trek, the Annapurna trek out into the Himalayas, met Ram Hari, who was double jobbing to raise money to take a couple of kids off the street. He had seen kids in Kathmandu. Ram Hari himself had the backing of a charity called Rockba, and that was a children's charity. So he had come down from the mountains as a young kid, was a street child in Kathmandu. They took him in, gave him an education. So he was working with them, but they were full. And he saw glue sniffing was an epidemic at the time. And he saw like those 5 or 6 kids who were in a particularly bad state, like 5 and 6 years of age. He was trying to get enough money together to take them off the street, rent a room for them, do something, get them better. Said it to Keith as they were chatting, going around. So I was coaching Keith at the time. And Keith came back and said to me, look, I met this lad, this one, and he said, the easy answer would be to give him a couple of bob and just quell my conscience and, we'd have helped. Or he said, would you be up for setting up a charity? And if we set up a charity, we could do something. He said, like, I'm thinking, we go out, I came back. This is Keith now. He said, I've come back and I said to my mum, and she'd love to take a trip out there and see it. She's interested. And the time was just right for me because I had been working like with the charity in Ireland, and we had just wound up because it was a charity for getting people on the first rungs of a ladder to buy a home. The Celtic Tiger was starting in Ireland. It was like 2007-8, like things were going bananas. So we had turned from being a charity of property where we were helping people stay in the property for nominal rent to go to being a property agents and like property moguls. So I just left that charity and said, like, that's, you're sorted, you're property speculating. And Keith says, would you just? I said, great, all right. Like,
and this was, which year was this? This
is 2007.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm giving the background to that to say if timing happens, Keith. So Keith says, like, I'll do the groundwork and getting the thing set up as a charity. And then as that progressed, I then came in to help him run his business. So now I'm closely linked to it, and we set up, and he goes to Kathmandu, meets Ram Hari. We set it up over there, and then I worked with them the following year, and from there we've been taking on kids. So what we do is we take kids off the street, as that's what it started, and then that grew into taking kids down from mountain areas and just disadvantaged children. Some of them orphaned, some of them single parented, most of them just not being able to afford to their families to have them. So very quickly that grew into 40 kids, 45 kids. We rented a big house. We had nearly 60 kids in the house. And being looked after by 4 women, and Ram Hari had a little team around him, then his brother-in-law and another young fella come in, Silas. So it's Silas and Sitram, all the guys you've met. And And then we were sending the kids to school, and we thought, like, we had an opportunity to come up to invest in a school. So we invested in the school with 2 other lads, and it was like literally cow sheds. And that grew the purpose then to say, what are we going to do? So we capped our ambition for looking after kids to say the most kids we're going to look after at any one time would be 70, because at this stage it had grown to nearly 70, and we were able to keep track of that, as in know the kids and give them a proper family environment. More than that, then it was turning into an institution. So we said, education is our big thing. Let's go for education. So our aim is to educate 10,000 kids before 2030. So it has progressed from that to, we've now built 2 houses next to each other, one for boys, one for girls. So that separates the boys and girls and keeps us out of trouble, all the normal human stuff. And we've just built a school, a 3-story over basement, which can cater for up to 1,100 kids. We've nearly 600 in it, and we've planning to go up another 12 stories on that building. So, so our aim is to turn that into a centre of excellence for teaching and education. And we now have one other school that we built up on a mountain village up in St. Tally, and we support 3 other schools now on the mountain. And that's part of our strategy going forward, is we'll go in and support schools. We'll put teachers and meals into schools. That's how we'll spread the education piece, and we have a model. So we have teacher training going on in our school now, and that's part of the centre of excellence piece. We're going to have our teachers trained to a level way beyond the average and the norm, and the kids are thriving. So what I do then is I go out twice a year. I bring a leadership group, which is a men only group, purposely, and from businesses that I'm involved in, and then I bring a volunteer group, which is a mixed group, and that'll be a mixture of men, women, and children.
Take a step back there. Why men only? Consciously, help me understand that.
That was just to create a space where men could be in company with each other and be vulnerable to share things about life and business and work in an environment that brings that out. So you're going across the world. I used a backdrop at the charity, so you're around the kids. We're doing work around there. You're trekking, you're walking, you're talking, and as one of the guys said to me, who just came up on the second trip now, he said, like, it was on the way down the mountain, I realised, his language, the fucking idiot who was giving me all the grief in Dublin was up the mountain with me. In my head, like.
Yeah.
But it was only on the way down the mountain I realised it was my head.
Wow, powerful.
Hugely powerful. And it's the conversations that happen, with lads walking together, lads sitting down, having the beer together before the meal or after a meal. We cycle everywhere, so cycling with someone on the bike, all of that. So everything is built to create environments that are safe, that when people come together in the airport, people are shocked at how well they're getting on with each other because it's handpicked. So there ain't no assholes there. So so people are getting on with each other already, and it's like, this is cool.
In Kingston screening there's no AI bot that could do that better.
but that's a huge part of it.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
So now we've progressed that to now, hopefully this year I'll have a team going out. And that was my dream, is that people would start sending teams together to experience stuff,
So like a team from there, so an organisation, a team, a group.
And we'll bring out a team of 12 people, and they'll have a week out there. And I know they'll come back and blow a business apart then, because I've already seen individuals come back into business being different, and people so that the business that are going to send a team now are doing it because they've sent 3 or 4 people individually, and the reaction has been better every time. When someone comes back, it's like, oh my God, and look at how that person has grown. That person's now gone to London for us, and that person was the quietest mouse before they went there. And even this week I was being recounted, like, your man was sitting in the office at 7:00 that evening talking to a senior director. Like, he's never done that before. But since he's come back from the PAL, he's on a whole different level. And it's kind of like,
that must feel good though, right? Like in your election of purpose and like witnessing.
Phenomenal.
Like that could be transformative. Like for them individually, but then for the business that you're obviously, you know,
and I've
years accountable for that as well,
so
right?
I've 12 or 13 years of bringing groups out there now where we've had kids coming out. So now I have, like, my Sally was out with a group from Salesforce. You know, she was first out there when she was like 18.
That's right.
So, you know, so like here she is now, kind of 12 years, 13 years later. She's been out there 5 or 6 times, and she's bringing groups out there to have experiences. She's meeting kids, you know, that were kids are now grown adults. She's a grown adult, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's like fabulous. So that's the payback. The payback is seeing it happen. The payback is seeing people progressing, and that could have been anywhere. It just so happens is in Nepal, because Keith could have been on that trek up the Dublin Mountains, and that could be Baltinglass.
Sure.
It was like he met someone, he came back, I was ready. So like I was able to carry on a mantle for him then. If Keith pushed on and started, I was able to then push on and keep it going. It all happens in the way it's meant to happen. You know, and the way we've set up and the way it will continue to set up is that, you know, his name or my name aren't over it. So like I refer to Keith because I think he's a great guy and he deserves to be referred to. However, his name isn't over any door in Indraney, nor does it have to be, nor is mine. Like, I'll be gone today and gone, and it'll be like lovely memories for me and lovely connections I had. But it's not like, oh, the day he stopped, the whole thing stopped.
Yeah, it has to have its own.
It's like the founder mentality. It's like creating that thing that's going to move on later. So what we're consciously doing all the time is putting in place all the support that says this moves on. So February now, when you'll be taking a table at lunch this February, Ram Harry will be over, and
how about that?
And the young fellow who we've earmarked as his successor, Prakesh, he'll be coming as well.
Oh, brilliant!
And he's a young graduate from the school.
I will invite a few listeners. Put your names on the pod. We'll see who's listening,
exactly,
and we'll get you on the table. hey, there you go. Put it out there.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to say?
I'm the same, and I know I don't generally I'm on the other side of this, listening and asking. No, what I'd like to say is, for anyone listening who's looking at what they do or the purpose, is like, just realize it's all story. So just start with, what story are you telling yourself? You know, are you telling yourself you're a story of a, you know, so like I share, you know, my story was I was the eldest. That was determining how I was bringing myself. I'm not saying that is like a good or a bad thing. And the day I stopped being the eldest, then it like freed me up. It's like, no, when you become conscious of it, you say, I'm making decisions here out of duty because I'm an eldest, not out of love. So that's one of the things that came from me. So I'm witnessing people all the time who run a story of like, I'm a quiet person. I'm shy. Like yesterday, I'm talking to a senior executive, and he's running the story. He's like, I'm from continental Europe. We're different to you Anglo-Saxons. That's genuinely what he was saying. I said, no. I said, like, I'm calling you out because anytime I'm in your company with your executive team, you speak 5th or 6th out of 9 or 10 people. I said, bullshit, like. And my challenge for you now is be one of the first 2 or 3 people to speak. Set the tone. I said, and you speak in a very low tone. So I said, with great deference is how I hear you. Amazingly, someone on his team then, an hour later, was telling me they think he's the most arrogant fucker that they ever met. And that all of that stuff is him saying, you should listen to me because I speak so lowly that, like, you know, you should listen hard. And I'm showing you how intelligent I am. It's actually like his story is, I'm not as confident as some of the louder people around the table here. You all come from an Anglo-Saxon background. You're used to doing this. And he had this story to me, like, you're taught in a certain way. That's not like, you know, he's like, and he's saying to me, this is a man now, probably nearly 50. He's saying, like, you know, if I meet my teachers today, I would still call them sir or miss. You know, he said, I would never allow myself to say their name, even though I'm an adult. But he said, that's kind of, because when we were spoken to, so he's using that as a story to say, so when I'm sitting at the executive table, that's the difference I'm putting into things. And this is a very successful guy, right? So that's an example of how we carry our story. Now, I could give you a million of that, and I'm not exaggerating, where you know it yourself, where you stop and you think, like, well, why do I say that? Or why do I think this? Or why would I not do that? And it's because I think I'm at this, or because I think my education is this, or because I think this is where I'd be at, or I think that's what they would think of me, so I won't say that. That's all a story.
And then the power part then, so you've said it before about hearing their own truth. So, you know, you don't live in the world lives in you. You just kind of described other people around there, because you've had one-to-ones with each of them. That's the energy that, you know, that they're, God, it just shows, isn't it, how with a few tweaks or just that honesty or that mirror, how if there was an awareness, you know, of each other, and then you're conscious about it.
And you're conscious and you can do stuff. So Brené Brown gave me a brilliant example. Brené Brown is a researcher out of Texas and has written a number of books, Dare to Lead Greatly, all that. She's fabulous. She broke the internet with a talk on vulnerability. And one of the things I heard her say was she told a story in a podcast at the start of COVID. And she's telling the story of herself and her husband. And she said, like, so here we are. We have a couple of kids. I think it might be 2 kids, maybe 2 or 3, but 2 anyway, definitely. So we go on holidays. First time in ages, we've gone on holidays. And we take a house, and there's a lake by the house, and we're going swimming. And she said, and for context, me and my husband met on the swim thing in university. So like swimming is our thing. So we've started like, this is the first time we're taking a holiday in years. We go swimming, you know, we'll swim the lake, we'll like break with the kids. So she said, like, first morning we're going swimming, and she said, like, so first morning we're getting ready and we jump out of bed, we're getting on our stuff. She says, like, and I put on my swimsuit, and I notice your man is a bit distracted, and we're getting into the pool, and she said, like, so it starts in my head, like, okay, so maybe I'm not as attractive as I was when we were going to university, and, you know, he couldn't get his hands off me, and no, he's hardly looking at me, and, you know, maybe, yeah, sure, I've had a couple of kids, maybe things are moving a bit south and all of that. This is her telling the story. So I get on my bathing suit and we get into the water and we get into the lake and we're going to swim in the lake. And she says, and I'm first like swimming in the lake and chatting, and your man is swimming in the lake. She goes, like, what's this at? Like, we're meant to be on holidays, and is this a competition, like, you know? And so we swim out to a deck, and we get up the deck, and she's like, you know, I've tried to talk to him now 2 or 3 times. I go to talk to me, and your man dives back into the water to go back home. And she says, what's a fucking race? Like, it's a proper race, like, so, you know? So she's like, they get out of the water, and it's like, and of course, they get out of the water, the kids are up, and it's like, okay, get the kids, they're back here, do the stuff. She says, so we go through our day. She says, I'm going to bed that night. She's like, what? So she's, I've gone out a day, like, being a bit cool, being a bit snotty, doing whatever. She's like, what? Where were you at this morning? And I go, what do you mean, where am I? She said, in the pool. She's like, I'll get up. She said, I'm ready to make fucking love to you going across the lake. Like, you know, you're hardly talking to me. He says, that's the weirdest thing. He said, I woke up out of my sleep last night having a nightmare, which starts to explain some of his distraction. I had a nightmare that I drowned on the lake swimming out. So he said, I said, I don't know, because I've never had one. I think I had a panic attack in the lake. I couldn't get to the deck fast enough. And when I got there, I knew if I didn't get in fast and get going, I wouldn't get back into the water. He said, like, I've never felt an anxiety like it. She said, look at him, says, you're not taking the piss. He said, like, I tell you now. He said, like, I thought I was going to drown. I thought I was going to have a nervous breakdown. And she's telling the story against herself, saying, and the story I'm running in my head is, you're not attracted to me anymore. I'm ready for divorce here. I know I'm already separating our liabilities and our assets. I'm ready to cut the cord here. And we run in the first day of holidays, and she said, all that. So she said, what they resolved to do as a result is, we'll now start conversations with the story I'm running in my head is. So she said, had I stopped there and said to you, the story I'm running in my head right now, and the way you're treating me is like that you've just totally gone off me. And he would then have said, can I just tell you, not alone am I not gone off you, I'm in the middle of a panic attack here. I think I'm going to drown. She'd have gone, okay, right, that's a different thing. We better save you. And we don't do that. We don't have the space and time to do it. But that's what I mean about the story. And I get caught up in that all the time, where you don't have the time to take a deep breath and go, okay, what's the story I'm telling myself here now? Or find out from you, what's the story you're telling yourself? So I can go, oh, that's not even what I'm thinking of. And you go, oh, well, I thought you were going to do this and you're doing that. And I go, what made you think that? Because of the way you came and you, like, furthest thing from the truth. For, like, it's not even on my radar.
Powerful story.
So the story I tell myself.
Remember that?
You know? So I tell myself loads of stories all of the time. And the challenge is to catch yourself and be conscious of the impact of the story. And, you know, I'm conscious I can say this now and someone could listen to that and go, oh, so you're walking around analysing yourself all the time. It's not. It's just be conscious of the story. It's like when I started using a file of facts, right? The old file of facts, like a little thing. And I taught myself how to use a file of facts. And I went on a course how to use a file of facts. And I remember guys in particular, but guys looking at me going, you'll be living to that then. Like, their option was to try and keep it all in their head.
Yeah.
And be forgetting half it. But more importantly, be waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning with stuff jumping into your head, trying to figure out. Whereas I had learned really simply, because detail isn't my gig, like, so I had learned, no, if I have a system here where I write things down, I actually sleep like a baby at night. Why? Because I know it's going to be attended to. I know I've captured it. Instead of thinking, oh no, I'll remember all that in my head, no, I'm a man. So being conscious of your story is like the old school carrying a file of facts. People going like, oh, you're going to be a slave to that thing now. It's like, no, I'm actually just a bit more organized. I'll turn up on time, which is why I stopped giving time management courses, as you saw this morning.
Hey,
you know, but it's like, you know, so I'm not going to be a slave to that. You know, it's almost like people saying, like, I'm not going to use a phone because, you know, no, you'll get addicted to it. It's like, no, it's a tool. Can you use it? Now, be conscious of how you use it. Be conscious that if you go scrolling on it, you'll probably fall into a hole for an hour. So when you're conscious of it, you don't. When you're not conscious of it, you go, fuck, where did that 40 minutes go?
Yeah. Discipline around that then, yeah.
So it's the same with the story. It's like, you know, I don't walk around analysing people. I never analyse people, genuinely. But then when someone says to me, what do you think of? Well, now I'll tell you what I'm observing.
Sure, yeah.
It's a different thing. It's not like, you know, oh, he'll be watching, you know, watching everyone. Different, like rat's arse. But it'll be interesting to see how it's going on. You know, it's like I said to, I was away with a senior team last week, a couple of senior teams, but one team in particular were a lot of slagging, a lot of joking. And I just said it to the founder the following morning. We were going for a walk then. We were away for a couple of days and we were going for a walk early in the morning. And I said to him, just be conscious of it. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, what I've witnessed is you find it very hard to give a compliment without pulling it from someone. So I said, like, you know, take the figures yesterday. I said, you couldn't just say yesterday, well done on the figures. You had to say, only for Neil coming in with the big walloper there and landing that one, or thank God for Betfair. Huh? Because I have to pull it from you first before we acknowledge it, versus just saying, that's spot on, that's great. You'd be like, it's kind of not manly. Mm-hmm. But the story is, again, how we carry ourselves. The story is like, I know, sure, we're only joking, we're only slagging, we're only ripping it out of each other.
Yeah, the bants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mad. So just being conscious doesn't mean I have to measure every word. It doesn't mean like, oh, I don't want to offend. Oh, it means, no, it just means.
Yeah, it's not eggshells. It's just being.
It's just cop on, like just a normal level of cop on. Just says, if you're conscious of that, just be conscious like that you're taking the piss every single time you open your mouth. If you're conscious of it, of course, sometimes you'll let rip and it'll be funny. But most of the time, you'll be able to say what you mean without having to have something hang off it. As a lady said to a friend of mine about witnessing two of them slagging, she said, like, you know, he one of my best buddies, there's a group of us, a small group of 4 of us, and he had introduced her to one of our foursome, and that foursome was getting stuff done for her from a business point of view. She's going, that's incredible. I couldn't believe that could get done in that amount of time. We still have a question though. I said, you know the slagging you'd be going on with all day there? I said, is that all coming from a place of love? Like 2 guys who obviously are mad about each other, but bury each other every time they open their mouths. Mm. And it's to the stage where, sure, that's only fun, but actually it isn't. It's my way of protecting myself. So I'll call your thing out first. So you have a stutter, so I'll mock your stutter, and I have big ears, and you'll mock my big ears. So while everyone's looking at my big ears, they're not listening to your stutter. While everyone's listening to your stutter, they're not looking at my big ears. Yeah. And we love each other as buddies. But look at how we treat each other. And it takes someone from the outside to come in and go, wow. So that's what I mean about being conscious of the story, being conscious of how we're carrying it, being conscious of the impact. Right back to what we started at the outset. Yeah. If you provide the safe space, you can explore some of that. And that's what I love, is when people are saying to me, gosh, I didn't even think that. I wasn't even like, and it's not because I've observed them necessarily. It's like they're telling stuff and I'm going, yeah, and how did that play out then? Or what's the reaction to that? And as they're saying the reaction, I'm going, wow, yeah.
Are you comfortable in silence? It's a loaded question, because when, and we're finished with this, right? But when there's been groups of people around a table, your ability to, the perception anyway, is that you're very comfortable holding that silence.
I love it. It's my secret sauce.
Yeah, and I'm like, and it's powerful. It's very effective, but it's such a, I don't know, particularly if it's hit, you know, your energy, you can feel if there's a bit of content, you know, whatever. There's usually something, probably confrontation, or there's some kind of disagreement, or, you know, there's other stuff going on that's hard to really kind of qualify or quantify perhaps, but it's there, right? Everyone feels it. You know, is that what did you say? It's like a secret kind of...
It's a magic sauce.
Wow, yeah.
Because it's like, I had a lady from the revenue sit across from me looking for a lot of money. And it just wasn't going to happen because I didn't have it. This is back in 2010, Celtic Tiger times. And she and I sat in my office looking out the window for 21 and a half minutes. And then she said, we have to do something. And I just said to myself, okay, game on. I'm not an expert negotiator. I'm just saying the power of silence. She eventually just went like, okay, we're going to have to do something here.
Wow.
More often than not, when you're in a room and there's stuff happening, the first person to break the silence is the one most uncomfortable about their position and where they're at with stuff.
Interesting.
It's not a test. It's not It's not. I don't walk out going, oh, I'm testing all of this. It's just like you leave the silence, and generally, someone coming into the silence is ready to come in and give.
That's 2010, Ian.
Oh, yeah. Mm.
Wow. Tough.
Oh, yeah.
A dark moment.
It turned out not to be, because, yeah, that was 2010, 2011 probably. Yeah, I'm just about now tying a knot on the end of that stuff.
Wow. Thank you for sharing.
So, and that's not revenue stuff. That's just decision stuff, property stuff, and life stuff.
Sure, yeah. We all roll the dice and different things. Yeah.
So when you say to me, here's my message for anyone listening: be doubly conscious of FOMO. So that's my message, and I should have, had I prepared for this? Prepared.
No. You've been preparing for 30 years.
My message for anyone is FOMO. Be conscious of FOMO. Because that's why I jumped into a whole heap of stuff. And the FOMO for me was genuinely, I can remember sitting in my car, driving in my car. I can remember the people I thought of who'd be saying to me, Ian, you were too busy doing your business to do the stuff we've done. Because the world were taking off and investing in everything and buying everything. So I went in double fast out of pure FOMO. And that's what I see happening so often from a business perspective. It's like, just stay the course where you're at, stay the steady course. And steady can be 35% growth. Like, I have 2 businesses growing at in excess of 35% growth. That's steady. It's bonkers, but it's steady. The challenge then is when you go, but we should be doing this as well. Like, we gotta be So, like, if you said, what's the message? Message is like, be so conscious of what you compare yourself to, because that's what I did. And one of the best lessons I had was like, shouldn't ever. Doesn't fucking matter.
For going through it and still with a smile on your face. You're remarkable. Thank you.